Old Dragon Armor is undeniably a starter set. Realistically, probably not something you'd want to take past the first few floors of dungeons. There are many different dies in Hypixel Skyblock, some of them incredibly rare to actually drop. Unfortunately today we stop at the Celeste die, a die that is a 1 in 100 million drop from wolves. Quite clearly, Old Dragon Armor and a Celeste die, or a die of really any kind, are really not a great combination. However, from my suspicion, when you have new players just playing the game and randomly getting ridiculously rare drops and not knowing how rare they are, some things like this sometimes happen. Today, it's time to uncover the story of the 10 billion coin die on the 500k chestplate. But just before we do, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS, it gets yourself 5% off. You should subscribe to the channel. If you watch the videos you haven't subscribed, please make sure to do so. You should join the Discord server, it's linked in the description of this video. We offer slayers and dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. This all started a couple of days ago when I received this Discord message from Shadow. It reads, "Hey, I've had someone contact me with something kinda interesting. A link to a Skycrypt profile. This person has obtained a Celeste dyed Old Dragon chestplate. But the worst part is, it initially sold for 500k, and then Dolphin Grace YT bought it for 5 mil. I have so many questions, as I'm sure you probably do too. Well, first of all, who obtained the die, and did they know how much it was worth? Why was it then applied to an Old Dragon chestplate of all things? How come it was then sold for 500k on the auction house, and then 5 mil through trade menus? This was no ordinary Old Dragon chestplate. Regardless of the depreciation of the Celeste die when put on an Old Dragon chestplate, it's quite clear that this die is still worth billions of coins. Well, hopefully we're going to try and answer as many of those questions as we possibly can today. Well, the first place I started is with Dolphin's Grace YT. They actually have sold the chestplate. They have 4.7 billion coins in the purse with a 5.1 billion coin net worth at level 114, so they clearly didn't have much before this happened. And of course, the chestplate is nowhere to be seen. But this is where it starts to get a little bit strange. I was able to have a conversation with Dolphin's Grace YT, and I just wanted to know a little bit more information. I asked them if they sold the Celeste Die Dragon chestplate that they got, and they said yes for 3.4 billion coins. Apparently he had a 4.5 billion coin offer that was pretty much a meme. But I asked him how did he actually manage to get it in the first place. And he said some guy in the hub said selling for 5 mil, and he bought it. Apparently he said that the person he bought it from basically knew that it was worth more than a normal Dragon chestplate because it had a die on, and bought it for 500k. Well, they can't have obviously known the full extent because they sold it on for 5 mil. I asked if they know the IGN of the person who they bought it from, and he said he's not really sure, but it's Outlander something, which is, I guess, maybe a little bit helpful. We'll see in the future. But where do we go from here? So the person who bought the chestplate from Dolphin's Grace is TWXPOW30215, and they have it in one of the wardrobe slots right here. Mythic Old Dragon chestplate, 3-starred, with Celeste die on it, worth 9.6 billion coins. Of course, it's not worth 9.6 billion because the die is on a chestplate. If the die was on its own, then it'd be worth basically the best part of 10 billion. So they ended up buying it for 3.5 billion. I guess it's a pretty expensive but effective way of boosting your net worth. But there's some very interesting information that we have on Skycrypt right here. And it says that it was obtained on May the 12th, 2024 by Ice_Nanny. And we can see right here on Old Nanny's auction house history that they actually sold an Old Dragon chestplate for 1 million coins. This was on the 12th of May, which is the same date when it was obtained. And if we look a little bit further into this chestplate, we can see that the person who bought it was Outlander Senpai. And confirming with Dolphin's Grace, this was the IGN of the person who they bought the chestplate off. Well, there's one pretty major issue right here, and that's the fact that we can't see if this chestplate is dyed. Another discrepancy is they were told, Dolphin's Grace was told after they bought the chestplate for 5 mil, that Outlander Senpai bought the chestplate for 500k, whereas this is 1 million coins. I guess it's an easy mistake to make, potentially. But I potentially have another plan. If we go into Old Dragon chestplate on the auctions, and we could maybe even try just going to colour. However, when we enter the Hex of Celeste die, we don't really have any sort of luck. So we have a potential match. However, since we were told that Outlander Senpai actually initially bought the chestplate on the auction house, surely we can just take a look at their history and find it that way. And yeah, that would have been much the better option. This chestplate is the right price at 490k. Sure, it's 500, but people quite commonly just round up. The date aligns with the date that it happened, But there's some things that don't make sense at all. This item was created on the 15th of May 2024, whereas the chestplate in question was created on the 12th of May. They also bought another Old Dragon chestplate the day before for 400k, but once again, things don't really line up. The only thing we can actually assume here is that this is actually the purchase of the chestplate. Whether it has the die on it at this point or not, I'm not 100% sure. Also, it was purchased for 1 million coins, not 500k. So at this point we pretty much have a chain of events, but there's just still a few things that I'm a little bit unsure about. Ice Nanny was the person who obtained the chestplate and sold the chestplate. Whether there was a die on it at that point or not, I don't really know. I heard from Dolphin's Grace that the person who they bought the chestplate off, so the Outlander Senpai person, bought the chestplate with a die already on it. Which means that the Ice Nanny person who actually obtained the chestplate in the first place probably must have got it from a dragon and somehow got a Celeste die and applied it. But this makes little to no sense at all, because if we take a look at Ice Nanny's profile, they have got a net worth of 18.5 billion coins, level 340. Surely they know the worth of a Celeste die. Which means, in my opinion, it's way more plausible that Outlander Senpai dropped the die, put it on the chestplate and sold it. The chestplate had 3 stars on it, which means it kind of lines up. This guy is Catacomb 17, so maybe he was using it for lower kata. They have almost 600 wolf kills combined. But this absolutely does not really line up with anything that we've heard. But this doesn't really line up with what we've heard. First of all, supposedly the chestplate was bought for 500k, when it was actually closer to 1 million coins. And also, as per Dolphin's Grace, they said that the Outlander Senpai person bought the chestplate with the die on, which seems very unlikely from a level of 340. But looking at their auction house history, that's the only thing that makes sense. Plus, everything lines up when you look at it, because the chestplate on the Sky Crypts of the person who now owns it, it shows that it was created by the Ice Nanny person, and the Ice Nanny person sold the chestplate to the Outlander Senpai person. As for the trade between the Outlander Senpai's person and the Dolphin's Grace, this kind of does make sense considering, well, Dolphin's Grace even admitted that they didn't know how much this chestplate was worth, but they thought it'd be worth buying it. And also, of course, the Outlander Senpai person had no idea how much it was worth at all. Supposedly they were selling in a hub, and they just kind of did the transaction through trade menus, so there's not really going to ever be any evidence of that, but that makes sense. Now, there's something else that we have to speculate too. It only makes sense that the person who applied the die, in reality, is Outlander Senpai, even though that's not what we're told. After looking at his Sky Crypts, that means that after around about 600 wolf kills, this most probably drops a Celeste die. It always seems like the people who drop these dies are really unsuspecting people who don't really know the worth of the item. If they get that information quickly, then it can be good, but if they don't, then situations like this can happen. But can you really blame a new player to the game for applying a die to an armor set that they use? If they don't know the value, then it only makes sense to do that. Realistically, dies are in the game to be used, not just to sit around and be collected. And sure, that's what it's become because of how rare some of the dies are. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. However, if you think about it, this is how the game is supposed to be. Having said that, 10 billion coins could have probably really helped him. But maybe it's just fate. After basically striking out 1 in 100, basically winning the lottery, only if he knew what a mistake he'd made when he put it on the Old Dragon chestplate and sold it on for 5 million coins. Which, by the way, is 10 times the value of a regular Old Dragon chestplate. Unfortunately, it's unlikely we're really gonna know. Outlander Senpai has been offline for 2 hours, so I've just missed him. And his Discord account is not linked to his Hypixel, so I can't even message him on Discord. Let me know what you think really happened in the comments. The bottom line is somebody drops a Celeste die, applied it to an Old Dragon chestplate, and then it was sold twice for a fraction of the price, before it was actually then sold on for its probably close to accurate market value. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.